UFC returns to London this weekend with a battle of top welterweights where former champion Leon "Rocky" Edwards faces off against top contender Sean Brady in the main event. This is the promotion's 16th visit to the British capital, and this mid to late March fixture has become a commonplace in the UFC's calendar. We've had some pay-per-views, UFC 286 and UFC 304 most recently, with featured British champions Leon Edwards and Tom Aspinall defending their titles, but generally speaking, this fixture is a fight night, and we are back to a fight night for this one. It's always an ensemble cast of British and Irish talent, but the main event really is high stakes at 170. Leon is coming off his most recent fight and is losing his title against Belal Muhammad at the aforementioned UFC 304. We all remember his head kick heard around the world against Kamaru Usman to capture the title after that such a long winning streak that he went on, and his title defences in a trilogy against Kamaru Usman and his fight against Colby Covington. Sean Brady has taken this fight on 3 weeks' notice and replacing Jack Della Maddalena, who will now fill in to face Belal Muhammad at UFC 315, and has kind of been almost a super prospect in a lot of ways in the welterweight division. Came in with a lot of hype, undefeated, did have that stumble against Belal a couple of years ago, but is now on a 2-fight winning streak and has rebounded with big wins over Kelvin Gastelum and most recently against Gilbert Burns in his first UFC main event. When we look at both of these guys and we look at their skill sets and what they've done in the welterweight division, this is quite clearly a striker versus grappler matchup. When we look at Leon's resume and the type of guys that he's been facing, every one of those guys from Kamaru Usman to Colby Covington to Belal Muhammad have all tried to take him down and get him to the ground at some point, and he's been so successful with his takedown defence and his defensive grappling. But when we look at Sean Brady, super strong wrestler, lots of top pressure, lots of hunting for submissions and ground and pound. There's two ways to look at this fight. There's one way to look at it, which is you look at the success that Leon has had previously against wrestlers, but there's, from a Sean Brady perspective, there is a lot of tape now to study. I mean, even just in his last fight, there's 20 rounds when we look at the two Usman, the Colby, and most recently the Belal fight for him to study. Belal had a lot of success in terms of getting the high crotch takedowns, so that will be something that I think Sean Brady will try to implement into his game. There is also a question, albeit a minor one, depending on your perspective, regarding the time zone and the start time for UFC 304. This was famously around about 5 a.m, 5:30 a.m. walk time for Leon, which obviously meant for a big adjustment for him in camp and could have led to what was a flat performance against Belal Muhammad. Credit where credit's due to Belal Muhammad, but that is certainly a question worth considering. From a Sean Brady perspective, he has taken this on relatively short notice, around about 3 to 4 weeks. From what you hear from people in the know, he is known to be a little bit of a gym rat, so I don't anticipate he's going to be out of shape, but he's certainly not going to be in optimal condition for such a big fight. And obviously having to travel across the pond over to the UK, will he have been able to have the necessary time to prepare correctly for what is arguably the biggest fight of his career? If this fight stays on the feet for Sean Brady, he's going to be at a massive disadvantage, and he is going to need to get this fight to the ground at some point in order to get over the line. In terms of an official prediction, I feel like this fight is going to be one of those where it will be 48-47 either way. Might even be a little bit of controversy. I think that it will certainly have ebbs and flows. There will certainly be nip and tuck at certain moments. But I'm going with Sean Brady in this one. I think he's going to have enough success on the feet with his decent boxing, but ultimately getting those takedowns and securing those minutes of control time, ground and pound, and potentially submissions. I think Sean Brady is going to get over the line and defeat Leon Edwards in the main event of UFC London. Both Leon and Sean have recent losses to now champion Belal Muhammad, so I imagine both of these guys and the winner on Saturday night will be hoping for a Jack Della Maddalena victory at UFC 315, as that certainly would insert either of these guys into the title conversation a little bit more firmly. There's a lot of new bloods coming through the welterweight division recently when we think about Shavkat Rakhmonov, Ian Gary, even Michael Morales a little bit further down the rankings, and Carlos Prates, of course. So it's going to be interesting to see, can Brady add himself to that list? I mean, he is still ranked number 5, so I suppose you could still class him in that category, but if he can get this Leon Edwards scalp on his record, it would put him as probably the number 1 contender, if not top 2, and would certainly solidify his position as one of the guys next in line for the title. For Leon, it was reaffirm his place at the top of the 170-pound division, and he will obviously campaign for another title shot mid to late 2025. So really high stakes, massive fight for the welterweight division, and really interested to see who comes out on top in the main event of UFC London.